Here, enjoyed listening to Blake's comments and Katie's comments. Really want to wish Katie and our women's program great success this year. They had a great season last year. They're really, really fun to watch, and they're really fun to be around in the training room, where it's a common ground for the men and women's basketball program. The trainers are very, very cordial people, very nice to be around, and there's a lot of great interaction and chemistry between the two programs. If you haven't noticed, we're going through a facelift. We've invested a lot of money and want to improve our facility and the presentation when you come on a visit for if you're a recruit or anybody interested in the basketball programs. We did get two commitments in this early signing period. We're very, very happy with both of them. I'll be glad to talk about each of them a little bit later. We're thrilled that this will be the second year in a row that we've sold all of our season tickets, and that you can't really come up to the window and buy a ticket the day of a game. And the real question is, how do we get every seat filled for every game? And then that will be our next challenge. As far as this season is concerned, with my players, we're not where I'd like to be, either offensively or defensively at this point. We could probably use about 2 more months of practice before we had to get started. We do have a lot of wrinkles to iron out, both offensively and defensively. But it's a young team that's practicing very hard. Their effort has been very good, but they just have so much to learn about themselves and about each other and about what we expect from them. So we open up on Friday night against a Western Carolina team that's coached by Larry Hunter. And Larry and I coached against each other in the Mid-American Conference for years and years, back when I was at Bowling Green and he was at Ohio U. And he does an outstanding job. He has over 600 head coaching victories during the course of his career. And Western Carolina will come in here as a very well-coached, well-schooled in the fundamentals, and a very tough, hard-nosed team. Oh, we're looking forward to getting the season started. I'll be glad to answer any questions. Okay, thank you very much.
What did you pick up after last week? I mean,
right now we're a little raw. We need to cook a little bit longer. We're too tough. We don't have smoothness in anything we do, offensively or defensively. I would like to think our veterans would be much smoother, but I think because of the transition of Jaquan Newton going from basically a combo guard to a full-time point guard and taking over the reins, that's really challenging for him, a little more challenging than I anticipated. Buka Azundu moving into a more significant role in the starting lineup for game one, of trying to get him to play with the kind of confidence that will lead to his own personal success and development. I'm very, very pleased with the performance so far of Davon Reed, Anthony Lawrence, and Kamari Murphy. But each of them also has some things they really need to do. Anthony Lawrence needs to really help us defensively and rebounding-wise. He's doing a great job at the offensive end. But the 5 guys we have that are going to come in off the bench, Bruce Brown, DJ Vasilovich, Rashad Muhammad, Dewan Ewell, and Rodney Miller, all show glimpses of being able to contribute at a high level. But they're glimpses. They're not consistent. And we need to find out under game conditions who can really raise their level and be more consistent.
How is DJ settling in?
He's an absolutely great kid. I love him. He can really, really shoot. I told him he reminds me of me. Really good offensive player, doesn't play much D. He really tries, though, defensively. It's just you're guarding a different kind of player, an athlete that's very, very fast, quick, jumps very high, very skilled, and he hasn't faced that kind of athlete on a regular basis during the course of his basketball days. So he's learning, and he's doing a good job of learning, but it's going to take him a while.
When was he first on your radar, and how did that process go?
A year ago in July, the University of California and Yale University took their teams to Europe, played against his teams in Australia, and they came back raving about him and recruiting him. Then Stanford got involved, then we got involved, and pretty soon he narrowed it down to those two schools, Miami and Stanford. He visited both of them and chose us. So he's a really great kid, a great student, fun to be around. What I'm more impressed with than anything is there are so many diverse personalities on our team, and he fits so well with everybody. I mean, he gets along great with the Northeastern guys like Jaquan and Davon and Kamari, but he's also great with the other guys as well, with Buka and Amp and Dewan, and Buka from Nigeria and Amp and Dewan from Florida. So he fits very, very well.
Hey Jim, you said you could talk a little about the two early signings, or the guys who have signed so far. Can you talk about them? And what
We signed a young man named Chris Likes, who's from Gonzaga High School, they're one of the best high school basketball programs in the country. He played in what I consider the best high school basketball league in the country, the WCAC in Washington, D.C. That area has produced such players as Kevin Durant. And there's so many Division I players. Two of the guys that played on Villanova's national championship team that we recruited, Josh Hart and Chris Jenkins, played in that league. And Chris, as a junior, was the MVP of the league. He was Player of the Year. At 5'7", the closest thing right now that I can compare him to is Isaiah Thomas of the Boston Celtics. He's fast, he's quick, he jumps, he shoots, he handles, he passes. He's a high energy guy. He smiles all the time, and he's really great fun to be around and play with. Everybody that plays with him tells me how much fun they have playing with him. And I think that's one of the reasons we signed the other young man. Deng Gak is from Australia, and he and DJ played on the Australian under-17 team, became good friends, were roommates. They talked about Miami, and then when we signed Chris, he knew about Chris coming, and then he narrowed his choices to Miami. We were his first visit, then Florida and Kansas. That's pretty stiff competition, but we felt very, very good because his high school coach was very, very upfront with us. His AAU coach was very upfront that we shouldn't stop recruiting him just because his brother is at Florida. He's a freshman at Florida, and because Kansas has won 12 consecutive Big 12 championships. So we kept plugging away. That my staff did a phenomenal job, both with Chris and with Dang, of just keeping our Miami basketball program in their mind. With text messaging now, recruiting is ridiculous, if you ask me. But it's also kind of fun. The kids, you really get to know them in what they call a conversation. It's not on the phone. It's in a text message, right? Oh, yeah, I talked to Coach L. I said, I didn't talk to him. I texted with him. When did you text him? Last night. When? It's about midnight. My wife said to me, what are you doing? Having a text conversation with him at midnight. It's the only time I can get him. Because these, like Dan Gax, his program, they have school all day. He's at Blair Academy. I don't know if you know anything about Blair Academy. They've produced a ton of great players, a number of NBA guys. And they go to school all day. Then they got practice in the evenings, 4 o'clock till 8 o'clock at night. Then they've got study hall from 8 to 10. And it's really hard to reach them till about 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. And you hit them with one text, they hit you back. And then 15 minutes later, you text them again, and they hit you back. And I'm watching NBA games. I said, "Did you see that basket by so and so? Yeah, that was unreal." Stuff like that. So Chris likes. We've been recruiting him since his. You can't text with him back in the ninth grade, but his AAU coach Keith Stevens told us about him in the ninth grade, and we talked to his high school coach, Steve Turner, and he says, "Yeah, he loves Miami." I said, "Well, why is that?" And he said, "Shane Larkin. He loves the way Shane Larkin plays, considers himself similar to Shane. You guys need to recruit him." So when he was in the ninth grade, we'd be calling the high school coach and AAU coach, find out what Chris is thinking now. And so he's now a senior. So over 3 years, you develop a great relationship. And his mom and dad are absolutely unbelievable, great people. They brought him here on an unofficial visit during his junior year. They came down to play in the tournament in where is that? Where? The Cruel. Yeah. No, it wasn't in Coral Springs. It was, anyway, he played in the tournament down here in Miami. They stayed over and had to drive back home. I thought that was eliminating us. They drove from Miami and drove him home, 18, 20 hours. But, you're talking about a family that's really well connected and really evaluated every school and every program in tremendous detail, researched everything about it, and then they left it up to Chris. You're a smart young man, choose the school you feel is best, and he chose us. Dang, kind of similarly, his dad's a doctor. Mom, her family lives in Minnesota, so they know USA, and they knew Miami. And his mom just said, "I love Miami, Florida." So we had a lot of things going for us, and the coaches, my staff, did a great job. And then on the visits, our players were just tremendous at welcoming them then and making them feel a part of the program already.
Jim, how much is it meant to be able to do this in back-to-back years with recruiting? And what does it say just about the growth of this?
Well, the answer is we're not done. We still have scholarships to give. We're still recruiting. And I'll wait till the end of the year before I look back and say what kind of recruiting class it is. We're very happy with where we are, but we're very excited about the potential to grow more in this recruiting cycle and to catapult us into that upper echelon where it's not an upset. I think last year it was kind of an upset that we got DeJuan Ewell and Bruce Brown. I mean, we were kind of the underdog all through the recruiting process, and things worked out great for us. Right now, we have some momentum. Chris is ranked, I think, 53rd. He was 49th, and those rankings that don't mean that much to me, but I know they mean a lot to kids. So, but he's like a top 50 player. Dengak's a top 100 player, and we like to feel like we can really recruit now the McDonald's All-American caliber player, one and done type player. Doesn't mean he will be one and done. It just he'll be looking at us knowing that we could help him reach the NBA level in his career.
Jim, when you're at a Power 5 or an upper echelon conference in college basketball, we're not too far removed from schools just recruiting regionally. Do you have to recruit globally now to stay competitive?
The answer for us is yes. I didn't think so initially. When we first came to the University of Miami 5 years ago, we knew that the state of Florida, and what we refer to as the state of Miami, from Miami up to Jacksonville and over through Route 4 to the Tampa St. Pete area and down 75 to Alligator Alley and back. We thought if we just focused on that area, we'd be able to get a high enough caliber player to really succeed. What we found out is a lot of schools, really high-level schools, are coming into our state and with tremendous tradition. Schools like Kentucky, schools like Duke, Carolina, and we couldn't beat them at first. You know, there's a young man that we targeted immediately, and we couldn't even get him for a visit. No, he had us way down the line. And we've lost to that school a number of times, and yet they get that young man even to visit. So things are starting to turn in our favor, but we still need this year to turn the corner to where we'd like it to be. And then if you put two really strong recruiting classes together, then how you perform on the court and what other recruits see, how we play, will determine then if we're able to build the tradition that we're looking to build on.
How would you compare, Coach, this year's roster post-Sweet 16 to 3 years ago post-Sweet 16?
It's similar. That year, we were going to be playing Manu LeConte or Davon Reed freshman at the point. And that was very uncomfortable. We thought we were going to have Shane Larkin back for his junior year. This year, we have a little more experience with Jaquan Newton there, but we're really trying to expand Bruce Brown's ability to play multiple positions, because we want him to be able to play with different guys on the court, with Jaquan, but also when Jaquan is out of the game. And, you know, we'll see. Right now, that's something we've got to work on. It's a process.
Bruce seemed to have the most, he seemed the most comfortable out there in the game against Barry. Is he, among the freshmen, the one who's most ready to step right in, you think? Or?
Well, the first thing is I think he's most physically ready, because it's 6'4", 200 pounds, benching 300 pounds, 40-something inch vertical jump, and some very good ball skills that, yeah, he's got a chance to be very, very good right away. But there's areas of his game that clearly need some attention.
All right, we're going to ask 2 more questions and then break out into the gym for players because they have to get to study hall tonight. So 2 more
Oh,
questions
yeah.
and then we'll go.
Just one, how do you coordinate, say, Azuka and Miller, same position but need experience? I mean, how do you approach that?
Oh, we've got 3 guys competing for that spot. You got Abuka Zundu, Dewan Ewell, Rodney Miller. So they're battling, the 3 of them. They're doing a good job, all 3 are. But they're all very different. Booker is a very effective low post jump hook shooter. He's rebounding better, which I'm happy about. Dewan is a phenomenal athlete, a major league athlete. We're working on his skills so he can produce more points in around the basket. Rodney Miller is probably the most skilled of the 3, but he's also the furthest behind physically. He's not in the best shape, so his conditioning is a factor. He's not the strongest of those 3 guys. He's the weakest of the 3, so he needs to work on his conditioning and his strength, but he knows how to play. He's a good receiver. He can pass the ball. He's good in around the basket, and hopefully those 3 guys can complement each other without all of them fouling out. Because, defensively, they all need a lot of work.
Just other than Rashad, are you going to have everybody for Friday's game?
Right now, I think we're healthy enough to say yes.
And if you have more questions for Coach, you can stay, but if you want to talk to student athletes, men's and women's, are on the court right now.
They're on the court?
Yes.
All right, so I'll stay for a few minutes if you want to stay, but go talk to my players because they need to get to school. Blake, did you get my text? Did you talk to Adam? Let me tell you.
You should have asked him that in front of all of us, then you would have, you know.
What?
We're going to ask him your questions. You have questions